Welcome to Mr. Chalk's Revision Tips.
When answering exam questions, there are a few key things to remember, right? So just remember, exam technique is a key part in preparation for any exams, and it's something that you'll pick up the more you go and you do past papers. Right, so many questions in exams are repeats of what will be in old exams. So going and looking at lots of generic questions beforehand is a good idea. When going and answering and questions and reading them, there's a few things just take into account. Make sure you go read the question at least twice so you don't make any mistakes when you're reading them. As you're reading them, go highlight key information. Don't make assumptions about what the question is asking. Make sure after you've answered it, you go check your work for daft errors that you might make. And if it involves going and answering something where there's some calculation, make sure that you write your workings out down. Right, let's go and have a look at the question.
So hopefully you have found that useful. If you've got any questions, then drop it in the comments below, and we'll be uploading a lot more. Right, good luck, folks. Right, lipids or fats are components that we find in lots of things in biology. So we start off just by having a quick look at what triglycerides actually are. Right, so triglycerides are a type of fat that is found in your blood. So when you eat, your body converts calories. It doesn't need to use right now into triglycerides, right? So the point is the triglycerides are storing the fat in your cells or storing the energy in your cells. So later the triglycerides can be converted back into energy after you have eaten, etc. So if we go and look at some properties, right, so triglycerides are non-polar, right? And quite importantly, they're hydrophobic. Hydrophobic meaning water-fearing. Right, the monomers, so the individual bits that go and make them up, are glycerol and fatty acids. So fatty acids contain a methyl group at one end and a hydrocarbon chain known as an R group at the other end. So if we just go and look, you have one glycerol molecule to 3 fatty acids, and then they go and bond together to form a triglyceride. So when triglycerides form, they are effectively going and forming an ester bond between that hydroxyl group, so that's the OH group, and the glycerol, which has a carboxyl group, so that's that COOH group in the fatty acid. So the formation of an ester bond is a condensation reaction, quite importantly. So for each ester bond, a molecule of water is released. So like we said, so 3 of the fatty acids join to 1 glycerol molecule to form that triglyceride. So therefore, 1 triglyceride forms 3 molecules of water as it's being produced. One key or important type of lipid that we also need to look at are phospholipids. So phospholipids is a type of lipid molecule that is the main component in cell membranes. So phospholipids are formed from a monomer of glycerol again and fatty acids. So unlike triglycerides, only 2 fatty acids are bonded to the glycerol molecule in a phospholipid, as it has been replaced by a phosphate group on the 3rd CH group. So as the phosphate is a polar substance, right, it is soluble in water, so it's hydrophobic or hydrophilic even. So the fatty acid tails are non-polar, so therefore they are hydrophobic. So this means that when we go and we make a cell membrane out of this, all the heads face outwards towards the water, all the tails face inwards away from water. So just to go and look at a question that involves fatty acids or phospholipids in particular. Right, so phospholipid molecules contain fatty acids. So explain, right, the key bit there is that you are explaining. So explain how fatty acids in phospholipids allow the formation of membranes. Right, remember that you were specifically talking about the fatty acid part in the phospholipid, not all of it. So we don't need to worry about the glycerol part. So the main things that you would have to talk about is the fact that the fatty acids are hydrophobic. So therefore, they form a phospholipid bilayer. Right, talking about the bilayer is really important. So the fatty acid tails are on the inside or go and point towards each other away from the water. So there's some of the key things that you could think about when answering the question on phospholipids.